Oh, yeah. Clear.
Thank you.
I gotta learn all these chairs here.
Thank you for coming tonight. I'm opening the meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals, the April meeting, Thursday, April 21st, 2016. We're in the Littleton Town Offices, room 103 at 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass. The meeting started at 7:15. We were waiting for a quorum to be established. It's 7:20. We were advised that there was only one matter tonight, and the applicant has requested a continuance, so we're here for the sole purpose tonight of opening the hearing and then continuing it. So without further ado, I will open.
When was the hearing continued to?
It was continued to tonight at 7:30 PM, and
So
if
we have
you
to wait
think
till
we have to wait until 7:30,
7:30,
we'll do that. There are some minutes and administrative matters that we could talk about, then we do have a quorum. Rod Stewart, myself, Cheryl Gould, and Alan Bell are here. I did tell other members that they didn't necessarily have to come because there would be nothing substantive discussed, so I will simply read you the mail, and if discussion is needed, we'll have to wait till the next meeting to have a formal discussion. We received a letter from Keith Dunn, who's the Fire Safety Inspection Officer, relative to the project at the 40B project that we approved down on 15 Great Road, and this would be not the apartment buildings, but the freestanding housing units. The letter reads, Shelley, we have recently had issues with on-street parking blocking fire apparatus at Wildflower Meadows. After a drive around, I have noticed the builder has greatly modified the design from the site plans. All of the off-street parking on Morning Glory Circle has been eliminated. The parking garage carriage house has a finished berm. The spaces across from it have a fence built to the edge of the road. Further review shows the builder has driveways too small to park anything bigger than a compact car on them, while others are blocked with transformers or a slope to the point cars will bottom out entering the driveway. During the review process, we allowed the reduction in roadways with the stipulation that there was to be no on-street parking. We were assured that there will be ample parking for visitors. I find that the deviation from the approved design will have ongoing street parking, putting residences at risk for delayed responses.
Who wrote that?
I'm sorry, Keith Dunn, the Fire Prevention Officer at the Littleton Town Hall. I was in Town Hall this week when the letter was received and the building department was trying to deal with it. And at the time, they also brought to my attention verbally that when the building inspector went out to look at this complaint, he discovered a couple of other design changes that were concerning to him. One is, in fact, that they did place a house in its garage directly with the mouth of the garage facing the transformer, as if this table on the garage, and that table is the transformer. So there's no way to drive into the garage, you drive into the transformer. I think that something is being modified, obviously, with that, because otherwise they can't use the garage at all. It was also suggested to me that some of the on-street parking might not actually be residents, but might be workers, because there doesn't seem to be enough parking. But one of the discussions that they had was, because the buildings have been slightly altered due to the existence of ledge, the buildings still sit within the envelopes that we voted on and provided for, but some of them are not the full driveway length of a car. Some of the driveways are short and will only house a compact car and not a larger car. And so there have been design issues. I called the engineer while I was there because I felt like the plan, Shelley pulled the plan out to show me the plan and the decision, and I matched the decision up with the plan, and I couldn't see on the plan where the transformers were supposed to be located. There was no legend for transformer. And so I called the engineer to ask her where I should look on the plan for transformers and to tell her what was going on. And she reported back to me that there are some issues with the site not matching what the plan says, and that there needs to be some modifications that probably need to come back to us. So what I suggested Shelley do is that she have the building inspector notify the applicant of these violations, which is the right process. And with your permission, or her permission, I thought I would send a letter to the Builders Council, who has approached me in the past to bring to the attention of the board some requests of the builder, and let him know that we're looking at these things, and then ask them all to bring it back to a formal hearing, unless the building inspector and the fire prevention officer can solve it without us. So that's where that stands. Well, go ahead.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but I got something to say.
Go ahead.
Would it be appropriate for us to see a sort of a punch list of things that are in question at this point, and then notify the developer that, in fact, we would like to do a site review of these things, and give them whatever time we think is appropriate, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, whatever it is, to go out and actually review these things. Then they have an opportunity to make modifications, correct them, whatever, but to know that it's serious enough that we want to, as a board, go out there and take a look at what, because it seems like it's a lot of stuff.
There always
Does that
seems
make
to be
sense?
something, yeah.
To do something like that?
Yes, I think that's a really good idea, and I think in writing the email to alert his counsel that this is being looked at, I can insert that as a suggestion, that we all be able to see it together as a board and discuss it more formally as a board at the next meeting
Yeah.
with a
Would the building
notice.
inspector hold back occupancy permits?
I don't know
Because
if
of
that's going to happen yet. He certainly has the power to do that. The other thing that was asked of me, and I just put it to everybody here, whether or not, some of the units want to fence their yards, and whether or not fencing was allowed or not allowed under the decision. The decision reads, no outdoor enclosures. I don't know if that means fencing, or did that mean, garages and sheds. So I think that, that might be something that comes back to the board. On the other hand, I suggest that the existence or non-existence of fences speaks to the appearance of the project as a whole, and it would seem to me that the condominium association should regulate whether there's going to be fences, and if there's going to be fences, how you make them consistent so that the project looks nice.
Yeah.
So I felt like that particular question, it doesn't say in our decision, no fences, so I felt like that was better handled
Yeah.
through the condo association. That
Now,
was my
these
gut.
houses that are in question and the parking that's not there, is that the front section or the back section?
That's a really good question. If you look at the plan, there's a couple of issues. One is that one of the streets, I think it was called Chamomile, was supposed to have a T turnaround at the end, and the T turnaround would both provide for additional parking, but also let a fire truck servicing the last house back up to get out. As it is now, they didn't create the T turnaround, and so the fire truck would have to back the whole distance. Keith Dunn has alleged that that's a problem and that needs to be fixed. So, to answer your question, I don't know if the parking problem is because some of those T turnarounds aren't finished yet or what. But our decision reads no street parking. So regardless, there may not be enough parking for the population down there.
Yeah.
There was also, I forgot this part, there was also some talk about being able to create a few additional parking areas for company or for visitors. And that's one of the things the engineer said that she's looking at for Mark Gallagher, so maybe that will solve it too.
Has this been given to the planning board? Excuse me, because they did a site plan, right?
No.
They didn't do a
No,
site
and
plan?
that's another good point. No, planning board doesn't do a site plan on a 40B. What we do as a board here is we send it out for peer review at the expense of the developer. And I frankly questioned whether the whole transformer issue and the parking issue ought to be reviewed vis-à-vis the peer review letter to see if the peer review consultant said something that was challenged by the engineers, or whether the peer review consultant thought there was sufficient parking. I think we should look at that, because I think it's sort of a learning process for the ZBA to deal with a project this big, and it's something we should know for the future.
Sure.
Okay? All right, that ate up a lot of time.
Yep.
So it is now 7:30 PM. And again, I'm going to formally open the continued hearing of case number 867A, Oak Road, map U12, parcel 123 and 124. The petitioner Matthew Field of Matt Bob, Inc. requests for a variance pursuant to section 17331, intensity of use schedule for reduced front, side, and rear setback for a proposed new dwelling and retaining wall. As you know, I am required to stand down from any substantive discussion and to stand down from this hearing altogether because I have a prior business relationship with the applicant. However, on, I believe, one day last week, it's an undated letter, I apologize, we received a letter, and I'll read it. Dear members of the board, at the March 24th, 2016 meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals, the hearing for Oak Road parcel 123 and 124 was continued to the April 21st, 2016 meeting. We respectfully request the hearing be continued to the May 16th, 2016 meeting, as we are unable to attend on April 21st. We also grant the board a 35-day extension of time for any time limits or deadlines applicable to the board's hearing and decision on the matter. Sincerely, Matthew Field of Matt Bob, Inc. So I asked the board to at least convene a quorum for the sole purpose of opening this hearing and voting the continuance of the hearing. So I apologize to all of you who came out tonight that there wasn't advance notice of this. I hope I didn't take more than 2 minutes of your time. And I will ask the board for comment
Move to
and
continue the
and,
hearing.
a motion. We need a date and time certain, please.
What is the time, May? what
May
is it?
19th is
May
a
19th?
Thursday, not 16th. So May 19th at 7:30. Did you make that motion? Ed?
Not yet, he's checking. He's just double checking.
Okay, I move we continue.
Is it May 19th? Is it,
Yeah,
would that be the
that's what I
appropriate
have
day?
here,
Oh,
yeah.
you got it right, okay.
Move to
Yeah.
continue the hearing to May 19th, 7:30.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. We'll see you then.
I move we adjourn.
Second on the adjournment.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? None. Good night, Kirby.